Welcome to the Balanced Hustle podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Sherman, fitness coach for burnt out perfectionist. If you're ready to break free from overwhelm, simplify your nutrition, and make fitness finally work for you instead of against you, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll dive into easy strategies to balance your health with your busy life. Let's hustle for balance, not burnout. Grab a seat and let's dive in. Hey, welcome back to the podcast. This week, let me just paint the scene for you, okay? This week, I am recording in my bed. I have just taken a shower. I did a little spin workout. If you haven't been following me along on Instagram, I've been talking about it a lot on my stories there. I am very into spin lately. Yeah, I've been on a weightlifting journey for forever, and I've always loved weightlifting, and I still do, and I still am lifting 3 days a week. I think it's super important. I think everybody should be lifting, but I've recently got into spin also, which I've tried in the past. I tried a few classes with my mom at my gym. They were good. They were fine. Didn't really get too into it. Now I'm into it. Like, I just love that I've got a bike in my house. I can just hop on the bike. I put on a spin class on YouTube and I just go for it. And I'm like, hey, if I want to do 20 minutes today, cool. If I want to do 45 minutes today, sweet. Whatever I want to do, I'm just going to listen to this lady and do what she says. And I've really been loving that for cardio, and maybe I've talked about it on here, but I can't remember if I have already. So sorry if I'm being repetitive. But so I did that tonight. I did a quick little spin workout, took a shower, washed my hair. Now I am in my bed. I have a towel on my hair, and we are podcasting all cozy like today because I didn't feel like podcasting in my office. And sometimes I actually record video while I podcast and I post that on Instagram, but I'm finding that I only really feel like doing that about 50% of the time. And I don't want to put out podcasts only 50% of the time when I look good enough to record video, when I feel like recording video. So hey, this is messy action. We are getting podcasts out. I have a podcast number goal I want to hit this year, mainly to keep myself accountable, to keep myself consistent on putting out weekly podcasts. So we'll see how it goes. I might have to double up some weeks, but I have a goal, a certain number of podcasts I want to hit. Obviously, still focusing on delivering quality podcasts for you guys. So I will be having some guests. I'm working on having some guests on the podcast. I'm super excited for that. I know there's some technical things I'll have to figure out with that. Some guests I know personally, so I'll be meeting with them in person. And then some I am working with online and getting some things together. So I'll have to do it virtually and figure out how to do that. But I'm really excited about that, to bring some guests on here, some guests in basically related fields that aren't coaches but are experts in other areas of wellness. I'm planning on just doing some deeper dives into areas that I may not be an expert in, but somebody else can deliver us some really good information. So I'm working on that, as well as just some fun guests as well. Might have my mom on the podcast. Stay tuned for that. That will be kind of a fun one if we can get that in the works. So we've talked about it, and I'd love to have her on. So we've got some fun stuff coming up. I've also been posting the podcast on YouTube. So if you are more of a YouTube person, if you find yourself over there more, I have been posting the recordings on YouTube. No video, just the recording. Again, I'm not quite up to that yet. I know we talked about it, not quite there yet, but the recordings are slowly getting uploaded over there, so they're not all there yet, but I've got a good start on that. And I have also diversified into TikTok as well. So you will find my reels that I post on Instagram, on YouTube, and TikTok also. Instagram is kind of my home base, as well as my website to stay up to date with me and get a hold of me the best way. But I wanted to get on those other platforms so that if you are more, if they are more your favorite platform, you can see me on there as well. So those are just some quick updates, but enough rambling. Today we are going to talk about goal setting. So are we goal setting how we should be, right? That's kind of sounds like a funny question, but I wanted to hit on goal setting now because we are already nearing the end of March. If you're listening to this in the future, it's March 19th, 2025. And we're nearing the end of March. And we talk a lot about goal setting at the end of the year as we head into the new year and in the new year. But I think it's really important to reevaluate our goals every few months to kind of reevaluate where we are, how we're doing. Do we want to change up our goals? It's okay to change your goals. Just kind of touch base with ourselves and see what's going on. So I want to talk about goal setting and the different things you need to be thinking about when you are goal setting. So it's not just about saying, for example, I have a goal to run a half marathon. I don't personally, but you might, right? It's not just about saying, that is my goal and that is what I'm training for. That's a great goal. And I'm excited for you if that's your goal. But we need to think about it a little bit more. So when it comes to goal setting, there are 3 types of goals I want you to think about. And you might want to take notes here. You might want to come back, listen to this again if you are listening while you're driving, working, whatever you're doing. I want you to think about these 3 types of goals when you are setting your goals. How many times can I say goals in this episode, right? So, number 1, we have process goals. Number 2, outcome goals. And 3, performance goals. And I'm actually going to talk about those a little bit out of order. So I'm going to talk about outcome goals first. And that's the example that I just gave you. If you have something big that you are training for, maybe it's a number that you want to hit on a scale. Maybe you have a weight loss goal. Maybe you have a goal to bench press a certain amount of weight. These are our big end result goals. So I want you to take a moment and think about what this might be for you, right? What kind of goal is this for you? This big, exciting end result goal, the thing that motivates you to keep going, right? The thing that you can tell people, tell yourself, this is what I'm working towards. Think about what that goal is for you. Now, what I also want you to think about, because these goals can be very, very motivating, right? You can say, yes, I ran that half marathon, or I ran that marathon. Yes, I bench press 100 pounds today, whatever it is, right? That can be very motivating when we hit that goal. But something we also have to think about is that these goals can be very frustrating because they're large, right? They're large goals and they're not always within our direct control, right? They're kind of far out of reach. And for that reason, 99% of the time, when you are working towards that goal, you are technically failing, right? You haven't achieved it yet. And I'm going to use this half marathon example again. I have a friend who just recently ran a half marathon, so kudos to her. She's training for another one. So using that as an example, every single day that she's training for that half marathon, and it's kind of discouraging to say, right? I don't want to be discouraging when I say this, but 99% of the time that you are spending training for that big goal, you are not reaching it, right? You have not hit that goal. So it's a constant daily challenge for you to stay motivated, for you to stay disciplined, because you don't have that sweet victory of hitting that goal until like the final day when you hit it, right? So for that reason, we want to think about setting process goals as well. So process goals are basically the actions that are required to reach the outcome goal. So achieving the actions that are required. So these are directly within your control. So I'm going to use the example of bench pressing, right? If you are bench pressing a certain amount of weight, your goal is to bench press a certain amount of weight, we'll just say it's 100 pounds, for example. This is not directly in your control. You might come to the gym on the day that you plan to hit this goal, on the final day of your program, of your training, and you still might not hit that goal. Even if your training has gone super well, if you've been super dedicated, committed, you might not hit that goal, right? It's not really directly in your control. But the process goals, the actions that we take to get to that end outcome goal, are directly within your control. And chances are, the more committed, the more dedicated you are to these process goals, the more likely you will hit that end goal on whatever your end date is that you plan to hit it, right? Or maybe you don't have a date, but it's just a goal that you want to hit at some point in time. Maybe it's this year, this month, whatever. The more committed you are to focusing on those actions, you will more likely hit that goal, right? So these I like to set on a week-to-week basis. With my clients, my one-on-one clients, we have weekly check-ins. And every week on the weekend, they fill in a check-in form. We go over what went well, what maybe didn't go well during the week, how they're feeling about a variety of things. And then we talk about goals for the week ahead. And these goals are the goals that are directly within our control, right? Maybe they had 4 workouts planned for the last week, but they only hit 2 of them, right? So our process goal for the week ahead is to hit all 4 of our workouts, right? Maybe they had a water goal and we didn't quite hit that, so we set a new goal for the week ahead. And maybe our goal was 5 workouts for the week and we hit 2, so we adjust our goal to 3 or 4, right? We're setting goals that we are directly in control of for the week. And then when these weeks start to add up and we continue to stick to these goals, we have a higher chance of hitting that outcome goal at the end. Another type of goal, the third type of goal that I want to talk about, are performance goals. So these are specific metric goals. So if we go back to that idea of being able to bench press 100 pounds, right? We can set performance goals along the way that we can hit. So maybe we bench press, we hit, I'm just going to throw an example out there, 80 pounds for 4 reps, right? Maybe we've never done that before. I'm just throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? Maybe if you have a goal, a running type goal, maybe you have a performance metric that you set to be able to run a mile in under so many minutes, right? Maybe you have a speed goal and you keep decreasing that performance or that time that you can run a mile, and you gradually kind of stair step your way up to your outcome goal with these performance goals. So these are really awesome because they are slightly different from process goals. Process goals are more like repeatedly performing the actions that you need to, right? Performance goals are like those little trophies and medals and badges along the way to your big goal. So these are really important because they can be really fun and a motivating way for us to get to our end goal. So again, we have the outcome goal, the big top of the mountain. This is the major thing you want to achieve, right? The big race, the big bench press number. Those are just a couple examples I continually keep using. And then we have our process goals, right? What are we going to do to make it happen? If we have a weight loss goal, are we going to walk a certain amount of steps per day? Are we going to do a certain amount of lifts per week? Are we going to eat a certain amount of veggies, servings of veggies per day, right? Those are all our process goals. And then performance goals, those are the metrics that we hit along the way. So if you have a weight loss goal, maybe it's to lose 20 pounds. Well, we've got to stair step it up to those 20 pounds. So if we only focus on that outcome goal of hitting those 20 pounds lost, again, we are failing until we hit the 20 pounds. But are we really failing? No, we're not. But if we look at the numbers, it's like, well, I didn't hit the 20 pounds today, I didn't hit the 20 pounds today. It's going to take me another month to hit the 20 pounds. And every day you're constantly telling yourself this story that you are not there yet, right? But if we have these process goals, or these would be performance goals, these metric goals, we can stair step our way up there, right? Okay, 5 pounds down, 10 pounds down, 15 pounds down. Now you are setting those wins along the way that motivate you even more to get to that end outcome goal, those 20 pounds lost, if that all makes sense. So those are 3 types of goals I want you to be thinking about. When you are setting your goals, I think it's really important to write them down. So, get out a notebook, write outcome goal, process goals, performance goals, write those down for yourself. It could be for even just the next month, right? Take a moment, write those down, put them into out into the universe, because when we do that, it makes it more likely that we are going to commit to making it happen, right? If we just have a goal in our head and we don't say it in words, we don't put it in writing, you know how easy it is to just let that goal float away when we don't hit it, when we don't do the things we need to do in order to achieve it. We can just let it float off. We can just push it to the next month and the next month and the next month, right? So put it in writing, put it somewhere where you can see it. If you have not created a vision board, I have a podcast episode about vision boards. Again, I typically talk about it more towards the beginning of the year, but it is not too late to do a vision board. You can do that at any time throughout the year. You can also redo a vision board at any time throughout the year. For me personally, I like to do it once a year, and I like to really think about it a lot when I do it so that I'm kind of committed to it for the year. But things change, right? You can adjust it, but don't give yourself too much slack, right? Don't just take some goals off the board because you're like, well, I actually don't think I could do this. No, if that's what you're doing, don't change your board, right? I want you to remember why you put that on your board in the first place, how you felt when you put it on there, how inspired you were when you put it on there. Is it still something you really want? Is it just something you're doubting at the moment? Those are 2 different things, right? So definitely writing down those goals and making a vision board if you have not. The last thing I want to talk about is SMART goals. And you've probably heard of SMART goals before. And I'm also turning this podcast, I decided I'm going to turn this podcast into, not everybody drinks, but a drinking game type situation for the amount of times I say goals, because it's happening a lot. But that is what this is about. So, SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and a timeline, right? So when you set a goal, let's start from number 1, specific. You need to hone in on what this really means. We're not just saying our goal is to lose weight. How many pounds? How many pounds are we losing? Make it specific. Make it measurable. That one's pretty easy for weight loss, right? We can measure it on a scale. Make it attainable. Is it attainable for you to lose 20 pounds this week? No, probably not, right? Make it something that is attainable. Is it probably challenging? Yes, it will probably be challenging, but is it attainable? Is it realistic? Number 4, relevant. Does this goal make sense for you? Is this just a random thing that you decided you wanted to do? Does this make sense for your lifestyle right now? Does this make sense for your mindset right now? Are you in a space where it makes sense for you to be losing weight at the moment, right? That's just an example. Timeline. Give yourself checkpoints and deadlines. It's not just, I want to lose 20 pounds. No, I want to lose 20 pounds before this date, right? Before I have to wear this dress to a family wedding, right? Before June 1st, right? Just picking a date, picking a time frame, and giving yourself a deadline. Because when we have a deadline, we are more likely to hit our goals, right? And I think a lot about procrastinating, for example, when I was in college, and how many times I would wait to start writing a paper until like the day before it was due. And now I was a good student, right? But I needed like that pressure. And I know your parents always say, they're like, oh, that's just an excuse. Like, that's just called procrastination. You don't really need the pressure. But it is true that when we set dates and deadlines for ourselves, we have more of a push to get it done, right? And I would actually get that paper written so much faster. Now, I'm not saying this is the correct way to do it, but so much more efficiently and faster when I knew, like, okay, I have a day to get this done. Now, I didn't do that with everything, right? But if we have weeks to do something, we have way too long to kind of think about it and do a little here, do a little there. Now, is it good to be prepared? Sure. But we need to have a deadline to make things happen, right? It's just like my daily tasks. I use a task manager called Asana, and I love that for my business. And I give every task a due date and a deadline. Even if it's something that is as simple as just like organizing, like I had one on here that was organizing my Canva designs. I learned that I could put my Canva designs into folders, and I really wanted to do that because I have so many designs on there and I just wanted to have them more organized, and I learned I could put them into folders. So I put that in my Asana, and I was like, this doesn't really need to be done. It's just something that would be nice to do. It'd be nice to have it organized, but I've been living like this for a long time, right? So it doesn't really need to be done, but I gave it a date anyway. So it's on my calendar for a date. Now, may I possibly push it back a day or two if I have something else come up that's, more pressing? Sure, but it's on there. It has a date. I see it. I'm constantly kind of reminded of it, and it doesn't just get pushed to never happening, right? I'm going to get it done. So that is my examples for SMART goals. Again, you might want to write that down. You might want to, if you look it up, if you Google it, if you didn't quite catch it, it will come up on Google. It's a pretty common thing, so that you can check your goals against these 5 parameters, right? And then the very, very, very last thing I will say, because I feel very strongly about this, is that your goals are strictly decided by you and you only. And also, your goals do not have to meet any type of society standards or requirements. Let me explain that, because I feel like that might not quite have made sense. But basically, your goals are what you want to do. Obviously, right? Your goals do not need to impress or please or meet anyone else's expectations. If you say that you have a weight loss goal because you want to look banging in a bikini this summer, that can be your reason. You do not need to give yourself a reason that sounds good to anybody else. If that is truly why you want to lose the weight, then that is your why behind your goal, right? You don't need to say, oh, I want to do it to, show up good for my family. You don't need to make up fluff in your head. You just say why you want the thing that you want and why you want it, okay? Your goal is for you. You can go to the gym, and this is one I use a lot of the time, and I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, so I'm going to try to make this concise. But you can go to the gym and lift weights because you want to have a big butt, because you want to have a big booty, right? You don't need to say that you want to go there because you want to have, functional fitness and you want to increase your bone density and you want to be able to lift a certain amount of weight. Those are all great things if those are your goals, but if your goal is to go there so that you can have a nice looking butt and jeans, just say that that's your goal and that's your why, right? Because that's going to really motivate you. When you are honest with yourself, that is going to be the most motivating thing, and that is what's going to make your goals happen. So pick goals that really resonate with you and be honest as to why you're picking them, right? They don't need to resonate with anybody else. For most of my life, I had a goal to gain weight because I grew up as a stick. I was, super skinny. I had no shape really. I was basically a beanpole. And I didn't really feel confident in a lot of my clothes because I didn't have the muscle and the shape that I wanted to have. I didn't like the way jeans fit. I was kind of tall and lanky, and I could never find jeans that fit quite right and that I filled out. I had no butt. So, you had like kind of the sagginess in the butt, but they fit me height-wise, and I didn't really feel confident in them, right? So for most of my life, my goal was to gain weight and to gain muscle. And I had a lot of people who, when they heard that goal, and they might have had an opposite goal, right, of losing weight, they were like, oh, why would you want to gain weight? And, I wish I had your body and blah, 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 blah. And you just have to kind of push those things out of your mind. Everybody has different goals for different reasons, and I knew that not only was I underweight, I was also underweight as well for my height, and I knew that I would feel better if I had more muscle and more weight on my body, and when I did make that happen, I did feel much more confident. So I didn't try to kind of cover up why that was my goal. I just remained honest with myself, and that is what got me to ultimately accomplishing it. So that's my little tidbit for the end of this goal setting session. If you feel like you need to revisit your goals, I want you to really think about these 3 different types of goals again also, and then making them SMART with that SMART acronym. So I hope this was helpful. Now's a good time of year to kind of revisit what you're doing, revisit those goals, and I will be back next week to talk to you in another episode. So until then, I hope you have a good rest of your week, and we will talk soon. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Balanced Hustle podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Be sure to leave a review or share with someone who needs a little extra balance in their hustle. For more tips, tools, and resources to help you reclaim your energy and build the strong, vibrant life you deserve, follow me on Instagram at LindsaySherman_fitness, and don't forget to subscribe here so you don't miss a single episode. Until next time, remember, progress is always better than perfection. Keep taking those small steps. They'll tell you exactly where you need to go. Talk soon.